What's up, Broncos country? In today's edition of Bronco Talk, the Denver Broncos get some potentially devastating news on the injury front. We'll break down how the Broncos could potentially absorb that blow and still have a successful 2024 campaign. All of that and more in today's episode. So let's talk Broncos.
What do you want to do?
I don't know. What do you want to do?
I know. Let's talk Broncos.
Welcome into another edition of Bronco Talk, where we talk Denver Broncos football. I just want to start off by saying the irony does not escape me. Just yesterday, I was super stoked about how our defense performed, and I said in yesterday's episode, that I think that this defense, if we stay healthy, could be a top 5 unit, especially with Riley Moss balling out, Vance Joseph obviously coaching very well, the defense across the board tackling extremely well, not giving up any silly missed tackles. Of course, the other team gets paid as well, so there's going to be broken tackles, some slippery guys in the NFL, of course, but overall, some very effective tackling, very solid tackling, and overall, the defense was playing very stout, very strong across the board, both in the secondary and across the front seven, getting to the quarterback, causing turnovers, playing fast, strong, and the way that Denver Broncos defense should be played. And then we get news today that our inside linebacker, one of our stud defenders, Alex Singleton, played through an ACL injury throughout the entire game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In the second series of the game, he felt something wrong with his knee, continued to play throughout the game, showing just how strong and how much of a warrior he is, just to let the team know after the game that something isn't right. And early today, we signed Quan Alexander, former Saint, somebody that Sean Payton's obviously familiar with, coached him for a couple of years, and then Zach Cunningham, both inside linebackers. And initially, the thought process around Broncos country was, maybe some linebacker depth. Who knows? We see this from time to time where a veteran that's waiting for a home, a la Justin Simmons or somebody else that just hasn't signed yet, will sign with the team late in camp, early in the season. And sometimes they end up on the practice squad, and sometimes it's just a filling out process. Sometimes they just need to learn the playbook. There could be various reasons why a veteran that is still a free agent at the beginning of the season might be signed to the practice squad rather than the 53. But we got news shortly after that Alex Singleton played throughout the Week 3 matchup with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with an ACL injury. He tore his ACL. He will be out for the year. So there's a lot of things to look at. Replacing Alex Singleton on the roster. Obviously, he's going to the IR. And then who's going to take over the play call responsibilities on defense. And obviously who can fill the shoes of the tackling machine we know is Alex Singleton. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a group effort. But like I said in the start, we have a defense that is tackling very soundly, from defensive line to the linebackers and including our secondary. It's sometimes bad when you see your star corner or any of the corners or secondary making tackles, but they're just going to the ball and they're getting the tackle. No one's going to get past Pat Surtain. As slight as he may seem, he's pretty stout, he's muscular, he's not a guy that's going to be just run over. He's a guy that he reminds me, and this is a lot of praise, especially in Broncos country, but he reminds me of Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey wasn't one that's just going to mail it in. He could tackle you. And neither is Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain will wrap you up. He'll get you to the ground without much of a struggle. He's a solid tackler. And Riley Moss knocked the ball out of K. Dotton's grasp last game. He seems to be a hard-hitting DB as well. So across the board, whether it's the safeties, cornerbacks, linebackers, we've got a solid tackling team. So to absorb the loss of Alex Singleton throughout this season, potentially the beginning of next season, who knows how this ACL will heal, how quick that Alex Singleton will be on to physical therapy and extensive work, and how long it will take him to get cleared to play football or even football activities. But for right now, we're on to replacing Alex Singleton, and we hope that he recovers well. We hope that it's a speedy recovery and that he's back on the football field before long, because we know that we are a better team when Alex Singleton is on the field. But as far as replacing Alex Singleton goes, it's going to be, like I said, a team effort. But as far as the starting linebacker position goes, like I had mentioned, we signed Quan Alexander to the practice squad, which there was a corresponding move for the offense, which I'll get into in a little bit. Tyler Bidet was moved to the active roster from the practice squad, making a practice squad position available to sign somebody. So we've got 2 new inside linebackers to potentially replace Alex Singleton at the very least. Hopefully one of them pops. Hopefully Alex Singleton is obviously going to be missed, but replaced at least to a degree where we can absorb the loss. I think that this team is going to be stout enough. I think that Vance Joseph is calling plays the way that they need to be called so that the defense can thrive. With any 11 guys on the field, we're going to see somebody step up, because the depth on this defense, the depth on the offense as well. I was thinking about it. If we lost, for example, Bo Nix, and I'm not hoping any injuries on anybody, but if we lost Bo Nix, I'm solid with Jarrett Stidham, of course. I've made that opinion known on this podcast, but Zach Wilson, we've got Tyler Bidet, we've got Javonte Williams, and we've got Jaleel McLaughlin. We've got Josh Reynolds. We've got Lil Jordan Humphrey. We've got Cortland Sutton. We've got, I think, the only position that maybe, and this is an interesting take, but Nate Adkins and his hands seem to be really solid as far as pass catching. So I'm not saying that he's going to replace Greg Dulcich or Lucas Kroll if he starts getting receiving opportunities in this offense, but tight end might be the one position where we might be a little light as far as depth. We saw Palcho go out there and replace Mike McGlinchey. That was a place where on the offensive line where we didn't exactly know how our depth looked, but I mean, we protected Bo Nix pretty well. So across the offense, across the defense, I think the depth is there. And I think that you might see the door open for another, because Alex Singleton was an undrafted player as well. We might see Lavelle Bailey slide into that inside linebacker position. Not necessarily calling the plays. I could see Cody Barton getting the green dot, and then Lavelle Bailey relying on his superior at the inside linebacker position, Cody Barton, on where to go and how to play each play, and just making sure that they're on the same page on the inside. But Lavelle Bailey, from the time he was signed undrafted, when you look at his tape, he's athletic, he's fast, he's strong. To see him still on the 53, and we didn't sign Quan Alexander straight to the 53. We didn't sign Zach Cunningham straight to the 53. That leads me to believe that we have some depth on the roster at inside linebacker that Sean Payton believes in and can step in there and fill shoes, maybe not fully, but fill shoes enough to where we can absorb this loss and be successful. And at the least, we've got 2 veterans on the practice squad learning the playbook, getting in shape, and could answer the bell if it needs to be done. That being said, like I had mentioned, I think that this defense will absorb this loss with Alex Singleton. He's a tackling machine, but thus far, the defense seems to be stout as far as tackling goes. We're not letting anybody break tackles and just letting guys slip away. If they've broken our tackle, it was well earned and well deserved. And whoever steps in defense to start at the inside linebacker position, they will be surrounded by 10 other guys that have their back and are very sound tacklers. With all that said, let's move on to the offense and Tyler Bidet. Tyler Bidet moving up to the active roster just continues the trend of, will he be RB1? And now, I had mentioned in yesterday's edition of BroncoTLK that I don't necessarily consider Javonte no longer RB1, but the writing is on the wall. If he does not start looking like RB1 from Jump Street of each game, being explosive, getting through the hole, and making people miss at the next level, he could be replaced at RB1. Now, Tyler Bidet is definitely a great change of pace back, and he has, from what I see, the makings to play within the tackles. He can run between the tackles. He can make a guy miss, but he isn't RB1 yet. I don't know if he will be. It's something to watch for. He's got all the makings to be an RB1. I just feel that Javonte's still very stout, still getting his tread back from his own knee injury, and could see something where Javonte throughout the season just gets stronger and stronger as he gets more into game shape. We know that he lost the 11 pounds, but that was after OTAs, and he was sent home before training camp and told by Sean Payton to lose some weight. So he only recently lost the weight. It's not like he was on a whole offseason mission to become the next Derrick Henry. Now that's a grand comparison, but it's not like that was his motivation. He was told by his coach that you need to lose some weight, so he did that. Now we'll see if the conditioning comes forth like he displayed when he was a rookie. He has all the potential in the world to be a running back one in this offense, and that leaves a lot of that's a great news for the offense, because if you've got a bruiser like Javonte who can also at a moment's notice make enough guys miss and break enough tackles to get to the end zone, then that makes Jaleel and that makes Tyler Bidet that much better. Something to keep an eye on. If Javonte gets benched, it's going to be tough, but we saw something similar a few years back where Ezekiel Elliott was cemented as RB1 in Dallas. Tony Pollard came on strong, and then all of a sudden the reps for Pollard kept getting more and more till it became 50-50, and then you saw Zeke become obsolete, and Tony Pollard was the guy in Dallas, and that's how the NFL is. That's why the running back life expectancy is so short, because you're going to be effective for only so long. The Adrian Petersons, the Emmitt Smiths, the Walter Paytons, those are exceptions to the rule. The rule is 3 years. The rule is really less than 3 years. You see someone like Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson running for 10 years. That's a lot of tread on that tire. So we shall see. Javonte, I'm a huge fan. I've said that on this show before. Javonte is my favorite player on the current roster. Pat Surtain is a close second, of course. And then you've got numerous others. I'm a huge Cortland Sutton fan, and I think Greg Dulcich has a lot to offer if he could just get it out of his head and stay healthy. I truly see potential in Greg Dulcich as well. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more Lucas Kroll, but that being said, the offense is looking good. They're in a good place. Let's keep riding this out for the next week until we get back home in Denver, where we can rely on that mile-high crowd, that altitude to help us out as well on the offensive side of the ball. I think that there's something to be said for all the pieces on our offense, and Tyler Bidet is only going to be that much more of an asset if he does, in fact, show that he's deserving of being a starter. And one last bit of news for today. Huge news for the Denver Broncos special teams. Will Lutz named AFC Player of the Week for the special teams. He had 14 of our 26 points, and it's just great to see. The Broncos haven't had an AFC Special Teams Player of the Week since Brandon McManus did it in 2021. And my take on Will Lutz, when we first signed him, I was unsure. I know a little bit about Will Lutz, considering one of my great friends growing up is a Saints fan, and he would obviously talk about Will Lutz and the Saints. And, of course, I've got some experience with Sean Payton, just knowing a little bit more about him due to my friendship. But Will Lutz, when we signed him, like I said, I wasn't sure. I thought it was just a signing because of his familiarity with Sean Payton. And then, of course, he almost signed elsewhere in the offseason, and then just to turn around and come back to the Broncos, which was great because week 3, he's named AFC Special Teams Player of the Week, scoring, like I said, 14 of the Broncos' 26 points, nailing 4 field goals and 2 extra points, along of 43, but those 14 points definitely came in handy when you're trying to sustain drives and score points with a rookie quarterback. So huge shout out to Will Lutz. Keep it up. Let's go get some more this year. Maybe hit a 60-yarder. Who knows? I know you got the leg for it. So great news for Will Lutz and the Denver Broncos special teams. If you haven't already, please like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you for tuning in to Bronco Talk, where we talk Denver Broncos football. I'll see you in the next show.